Hello and welcome to Tech from the Top. Now joining me I have Mr. Micky Watkins, CEO of World Mobile. It is great to have you here in the studio. How are you doing today, Micky?
I'm really good, Jess. Fantastic to see you again.
Good to catch up.
Powered by Fluid, the bank alternative for everyone.
Now, World Mobile has been making absolute waves. For the people that aren't familiar with the topic that we're going to be discussing today, we're touching the telecoms industry. A 3.7 billion gap in the market. I think gap sounds like a silly word to use here because this is an enormous opportunity, but also a kind of a task at hand that you guys have been tackling for several years now. For people that haven't heard of World Mobile, how would you introduce it?
Gap's the right word because there is a bridge that needs to come to take the divide from being something different than it is today. As you said, some people estimate 3.7 billion, some people estimate 2.9 billion, but the truth is there's many people on the planet that don't have internet.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we're talking about the opportunities that come along with that, it's enormous. I think the snowball effect that will come with connectivity for the masses is something that in 2022, we're shocked that it hasn't been done yet. We're shocked that so many people, billions of people, don't have access to internet. So I think the $1 million question is, why hasn't it been done yet?
It's the elephant in the room. No one's really talking about it. Regulators, governments are starting to talk about it. They're starting to say, oh, we need to connect the unconnected. But legacy telecoms, legacy business models haven't allowed for existing mobile network operators to actually get outside of the box. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they were ahead of all the innovation that was happening. And then for some reason, it slowed down. So we've taken a new approach to it. We've invented new infrastructure, long-range radios. We've decided that going up high is not just cool, but also really beneficial. So when we put our aerostats up in the sky, we can see 65, 75 kilometer radius. And we're going higher to 1,000 meters and testing at 20,000 meters as well, where you can see 600 kilometers. So it's just the time, convergence, mindset, technology, and somebody's got to fix this problem. And we're a company that's leading that race.
And I think what's really remarkable about this is if you look at some of the kind of the leading large names in the telecom space, you think, man, in the last 20 years, why has there not been the demand for this to happen already? And then for World Mobile, there must have been challenges along the way for actually rolling this out. So talk us through kind of when the company came into fruition and the first few years of kind of building, working out, as you mentioned, going higher, and these kind of areas that will help you integrate in the way that you have.
I've been in telecoms for close to 20 years now.
Okay.
I started off in the minute game, a family business. I moved away fast from there and moved into retail and back and forth. And then in around 2016, I decided I wanted to do something different. I wanted to bring a privacy solution to the world because I could see what was happening with our data. So I sat down for around a year, started to develop some software. I got a team together. It was very cool. And then I woke up one day and said, oh no. How is this going to be adopted? So my first mission was to go and find people that didn't have internet so that they could start their journey with privacy. When you have your data, and not just one party has your data is much less valuable, and it kind of spreads it around in a different way. So I decided, okay, where can I find the people that are unconnected? I expected to see 100 million, 200 million people, and at that time the numbers were 3.7 billion people. Wow. I was like, whoa. What is happening? This isn't right. So then I started to look, why have mobile network operators not fixed this? I've done smaller operations where I've bridged areas of 20 kilometers and managed to get people connected. Surely I could do this on a large scale. So I looked, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, they were all into it. And I said, right, this is big. Why haven't they succeeded? And I looked at what they were building, had the fortune to stand on the shoulders of giants. And all of a sudden I thought, right, I can probably do this. So I spoke to some colleagues in the industry and said, look, I think I can do this. And Alan Omnet was one of those colleagues that said, I don't think you're mad. I think there is a possibility to do this. So I started to write a paper on how it could be done. Contacted everybody I possibly could from the ITU, from the GSMA, and thought, right, if we don't start up there with future technology and we take off the shelf hardware as a majority of how we're going to roll out, we may be able to do this. And then I found limitations, and then we had to invent a few things. And all of a sudden, we in New Hampshire, we had a payload on an aerostat, and we could see, wow, we're connecting people. This model could apply to the rest of the world. So called up Andrew Soper, went to Tanzania, decided that I needed to power the infrastructure. Andrew's in the power industry, the power market. And it just took off. And we started to connect a few villages, saw the impact that made. I mean, phenomenal impact on just a small scale. And boom, I was sold, looking to solve one of the world's biggest problems.
It sounds like Alan gave you the founder's word, like dream words to hear, which is, I don't think you're crazy.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something here. So let's talk about rolling it out, because you mentioned you roll it out in a few small areas. Let's look at Zanzibar, for example, because that's an area that I know that World Mobile have been really active in. And you've had some really significant findings along that journey. Where are we at currently with Zanzibar? What was the first stage of testing the integration?
We put 2 nodes up in a very rural village, a fishing village, no connectivity within 1.5, 2 kilometers. Houses built on stilts, a community that was very vibrant, but it got dark at nighttime. It gets dark everywhere at nighttime, of course, but it got dark at 7 o'clock. So we looked at what we could do. So we brought solar power in via Andy. We built what we call nowadays an AirNode. It's a pole, it's solar power on the top, streetlights underneath to support the communities to thrive when it gets dark. Underneath that was a wireless unit and a transponder, and then we plugged in via fiber. This was in just before COVID hit. So we wanted to leave for a month, maybe 2 months, the internet there to see the impact that it would have. Nobody could travel. So we decided that we were going to leave the internet running. So for around 7 months of 9 months that we couldn't get there, the internet was working. We arrived back finally when we could, sent in the film crew, went in with RJ, and the village was unrecognizable. Literally, it had grown from 150, 170 people to close to 300 people. The people in the village all of a sudden were able to communicate. For fishermen, for business people, this is really important, because if you've got a big old dusty roads that has a lot of traffic on it, it takes 6 hours to get to this location. A trader takes a risk to get to that location in case the fish has been smoked or hasn't been caught that day. So as soon as they had internet, they were able to jump onto WhatsApp. When they're able to jump onto WhatsApp, they're able to communicate with the trader, send pictures to the trader. The trader said, wow, it's worth my journey to go there because there's a lot of fish here. Don't smoke the fish. When you smoke the fish, you lose value in the fish. So, and when I say value, I'm talking anywhere between 5 times to 10 times the value.
Wow.
So they were able to sell the fish for higher prices, use that money to further establish themselves and create a better economic situation. In fact, they even ended up sending crabs and prawns to China. So I was like, wow, my mind is blown here. Imagine this on a large scale.
Yeah.
And that's when I'd been toying with the idea of balloons. I'd seen the Google Loon project. I'd realized if you can go up very high, you can do wonderful things. And that's when I said, right, we've got to go up high so that we can cover huge areas. And we don't just make smart villages or smart cities. With a few balloons, with tens of balloons, 20s of balloons, we can create smart countries and we can connect everyone.
And this is the really remarkable thing about this. And I think for everyone that's watching that is based around the world, that has grown up with internet access, that is going, okay, this sounds really interesting. But just for them to hit home the fact that from internet access, then there's the e-commerce element that people can then set up their own shops. There's the connectivity of communication. Also, when it comes to kind of like internet bank transfers and payments, you're opening so many different funnels. And I know one word that we hear in crypto, one phrase is bank the unbanked, but connecting the unconnected is a step before that
Sure.
really will change people's lives. And there is an investment element that comes for anyone that is watching this that does feel empowered, where you don't have to be yourself unconnected, you can get involved. So talk us through how people around the globe can get involved with what we're doing.
I touched base on what you just said before that because I think that's really important. So many projects have tried to put up Wi-Fi hotspots or tried to connect the unconnected in unconventional and conventional ways. Conventionally, for legacy telecom operators, it's not profitable. That's why half the world is unconnected. They have money, they have the knowledge to be able to connect very urban, dense areas. Nobody has really come up with the technology to connect the wilderness, areas that are massively spanned. So how did we get into this position to connect the unconnected? Well, I thought that if we've invented the technology, this is one thing. But if I've got to do truck rolls and if I've got to go and install everything and if I've got to employ 1,000 men or women to go and lay down this infrastructure, how are we going to connect 1 billion people? How are we going to connect 1.5 billion people? How are we going to connect hundreds of millions of people? The biggest mobile network operators on the planet are 500 million, 400 million, 600 million people, and there's only 2 of them. So I figured that if we get the communities involved to maintain the infrastructure, we're in a wonderful position, because if they're incentivized to maintain that infrastructure, all of a sudden the OPEX of the company goes down. If I get the communities involved to buy the infrastructure and own it and earn from it, we're in an even better position, because as a company, we don't have to go out and raise tens of billions of dollars to connect the unconnected. So it was a sharing economy. And then I was looking, what have you got? You've got Airbnb, you've got Uber. Uber maybe isn't quite a sharing economy, but it's a good analogy. You know, you could become a driver after your day job just by owning a car and having some software, signing a digital piece of paper, and all of a sudden you're an Uber driver. You're able to break a market that had existed with an oligopoly before. So I thought, right, got the tech, get the people, incentivize the people. The market's $2.8 trillion. That's with half the world connected. But then once you've connected people, the real foundations come after that. So it happens to be that the unconnected also don't have identity. Now, if you don't have identity, how are you financially included? How can someone give you a loan? How can someone insure you if you can't identify yourself? So internet's really important. Digital identity is even more important once you've got internet. And then the third layer comes, which is all the value-added services. So $2.8 trillion is the current market for telecommunications, but the market for value-added services is absolutely huge. Is in the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and growing very, very fast. So it was that magic combination of allowing people to buy the infrastructure, own it from New York, find a node operator in Zanzibar, Tanzania, Kenya, Nigeria, match them in a Tinder-style matching system for telecommunications, and all of a sudden you've got a recipe that can actually connect a billion people, not just one company. And I mentioned earlier on Facebook, Google, Microsoft. Yeah. They're not short of cash. They've got money. They have finance. They have CapEx. They weren't able to do it. Why? Because together we're unstoppable. That's the reason. They didn't have that approach. We've got that approach.
And I think as well, for people that are looking to invest, or large organizations that are looking to contribute in some way to this next digital era, the fact that they can directly then see and be accountable for the change that they're making, as opposed to anonymous donation to a charity of choice, it has so much more of an ownership entity as well for the organizations. What kind of feedback have you had when you've started to kind of pitch this to people?
They didn't understand it in the beginning.
Okay.
Everyone's talking about impact investment, right? What impact are you making? For how many people are you making that impact? So when they could start to see that nodes are being maintained, nodes are being run, and they start to understand the economics that are running through there, and you can double the national income of a small African country for the people, individuals, and you can have someone, again, sitting in New York or sitting in Paris, and they can contribute. Charity is not sustainable, right? Philanthropy is very nice, but it's not sustainable. What you need is a consistent flow of incentive running through a system in a circular action for it to actually work, for it to be sustainable. So people started to realize, hold on, $2.8 trillion on this half of the planet that's connected, nothing on this half of the planet that's connected. And then you go even deeper and you start to think, the emerging markets didn't ever have DSL to their house. Thus, they didn't have a PC in their house in most cases. So they skipped and they moved straight to mobile phones. Mobile phones are the number one bank in Africa, as an example. So all of a sudden, you can start to add the things up together, and people start to see that there is an economy here to be made, and not only are they doing good, they're actually making money at the same time, and that's what you need.
And it's such a good point, actually, that African countries have a real opportunity here to outpace the Western world when it comes to kind of mobile banking, used to banking on an application rather than on a physical store that we're used to. Extremely young economy as well, with kind of a majority of people aged 18 to 25 that are really curious and entrepreneurial when it comes to access to a phone and the ability to connect. Talk us through M-Pesa and what you guys have been doing with M-Pesa, because I saw some of the stuff that you guys were releasing on Twitter, and I think for a lot of people that are acknowledging the impact that World Mobile is having, the recognition that you're having across African countries has been enormous. So talk us through some of those relations.
M-Pesa arguably is the greatest financial startup that's ever existed. It contributes to the GDP of Kenya. Kenya, per person, has more trading of cryptocurrency than anywhere else in the world. There and Nigeria are the two top places. So M-Pesa was a great example for us to see, wow, this can really happen. So actually, we're not really doing so much with M-Pesa. As of yet, we would love to work with M-Pesa. We're going to integrate them into our back-end system as payment options to receive and send as well through our World Mobile application. But what an example. They've really smashed it.
Saving for something special? We have the newest solution. Banks won't give you the interest you need. In fact, they'll actually charge you for having an account. At Fluid, we offer a 4% interest rate on your savings, deposited daily. Sign up and download the app today.
And now moving forward then, let's talk about the World Mobile Token and actually the kind of the tokenomics for everyone that is watching, kind of fans of Micky Watkins and the community itself. Talk us through the blockchain element of this.
So you have 3 nodes. Your World Mobile Token is a utility token. You have AirNodes, you have EarthNodes, and you have EtherNodes. AirNodes are the connectivity layer. So AirNodes can take many different forms. Currently, we have 4 different versions of an AirNode. You have an AirNode that you stick on the side of your wall, a sub $1,000 unit. This is able to connect a few hundred people, usually used to extend range from a slightly bigger village node. A village node isn't necessarily a village node. It can also be a town node. It can sit on a roof, or it can sit in the middle of a village. It's solar powered, second life batteries to be environmentally friendly. And that node allows a lot of people to connect to one unit, provides the street light, provides the backup power, and has USB hubs that allow people to charge their phones and plugs. And then you've got a third node, which is a base station. So a base station will allow multiple air nodes to connect to its sectors. Usually this will sit on a hill somewhere up high, and we'll point down, we'll focus. We use beamforming in our network, and this is a very critical part of the network. And then you have the fourth node, which is the beautiful aerostats that we have that sit at 300 meters, and they're around $1.5 million. And they provide ubiquitous coverage for everybody, as well as backhaul and fronthaul directly to the handset.
And you mentioned there the kind of the final one, which is the sheer coverage, the ones that you might have seen if you've checked out World Mobile, are kind of very visible. Where are they going to be available? Kind of if we look 5 years into the future, is this something that you would see as just focus on African countries, or is this
Not at all.
The future is global?
So Wales in the United Kingdom, Scotland, London, many areas have the Swiss cheese problem, right? There's a hole in connectivity. So this isn't just for the emerging markets. This carrier was born in Africa. But like Africa is going to outpace the rest of the world with connectivity, the same is going to happen for everywhere we go. We're going to able to put these aerostats in America. Right now we're launching one in Wyoming near Charles Hoskinson's ranch. We're looking to launch elsewhere as well. It's a big difference to just having nodes on the ground. When you pass a node on the grounds, you're passing with your cell phone. Where there's no node next, you don't have coverage. So in order to provide a real cellular service that's actually able to make the money that will incentivize the people to run this service, you've got to have ubiquitous coverage. So we're now moving into other places. And I think many people thought we were going to be stuck in Africa or in emerging markets, but this is a solution for all the world, hence World Mobile.
Awesome. So talk us through then the US. You mentioned Wyoming is going to be the first time that you've rolled out in the US. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Charles Hoskinson has obviously, I know you guys have been working closely together for years. Yep. Talk us through the integration in Wyoming and what we can expect.
30% of the US landmass is uncovered, plus minus. 10% of the population of the US do not have any access to internet.
Wow. This
is a first world country, right? We're now launching in Wyoming. We'll show a connectable model for the wilderness. We can help the solution inside the US. Right now, there's a lot of funding available for companies that can solve this problem. What we've seen over the last years is that it's going towards the big mobile network operators. The big mobile network operators are not making much of a difference with their existing technology. It's not their fault, that's what they have. We can come in. Our model is at least 12 times cheaper with the aerostats at 300 meters. You can guess at 1,000 meters, we can see around 150 kilometers. And at 20,000 meters, we can see 600 kilometers. So in theory, you'd only need, for a country the size of Tanzania, as an example, 6 aerostats in order to give ubiquitous coverage. But then you've got the capacity problem as well. So that's where the sharing economy comes in, and people start to buy nodes and fill in this capacity in the Swiss cheese hole problem. So the US is exciting. It's somewhere where we can show the rest of the world where we can go. They're very advanced with their opening of CBRS spectrum, and we combine free spectrum and licensed spectrum in order to make it work. So it's a super needed solution and something that we're heading towards, and we expect to see hundreds of aerostats in the air and millions of nodes across North America, Europe, and Africa in the next 2 to 3 years.
So talk it through then. If I am a consumer and I'm looking to invest in World Mobile and I'm looking to get involved and I say I want to do more than just buy the token, I really want to be a part of this for the long haul, what kind of price point would I be looking into? What kind of impact could I have? And what kind of offerings or decisions could I make or watch you guys make that then would have a obviously snowball effect?
The beautiful thing about what we're doing is that you're not actually investing into World Mobile. You're investing into yourself. You're owning a part of the infrastructure of a mobile network. It's been done before by Helium. They used it for IoT. Now they're pivoting towards 5G, but they're kind of landlocked into America, because they're using CBRS. Pollen are using CBRS. Helium have just made a deal as an MVNO with 5G. But as a consumer, when you buy this infrastructure, you own it. You earn from it. You pair up with a node operator in a local country or your own house, up to you if you have the property to be able to host the infrastructure. It's untold fortune. I can't tell you how much. Eventually the nodes will tell you how much you're making, but we estimate it to be definitely beneficial and to incentivize people and to keep that incentive going, not with just inflation rewards, but actually real money passing through the network. Price points, $1,000 to $1.7 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
$1,000 is actually a lot lower and a lot more of an entry point for regular people than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Was that really important to you that you made it accessible for anyone to contribute?
Sure. And you know, a $1,000 node, as long as you've got the ubiquitous coverage, actually serves pretty well. You know, you can get somewhere between 800 meters to 1,000 meters worth of signal, have 300-400 people connect to your node simultaneously at one time. And then you've got the slightly bigger nodes, and then the numbers go up and the coverage distance goes up. And then, of course, you've got the aerostats. And the aerostats are quite exciting. And I'm surprised by how many people have contacted us already and said, I want to buy an aerostat. I want to put an aerostat up in the air. I want to own this and I want to go. So we've tried to cater for everybody who wants to be inside a mobile network. And it's not a bit part mobile network. It's a full cellular solution. And this is probably the first time that's ever been able to happen or exist. And which infrastructure play can you get involved in right now for $1,000 or even $1.5 million? You can buy shares from the NASDAQ, from the stocks in a market, but actually be involved, be a part of that process, set up a mobile network and own part of that mobile network, I think that's really special.
Absolutely agree. Now, if we go back to the tokenomics side of things as well, and we look at World Mobile and also their integration with Cardano, you kind of regularly do talks and AMAs with Charles Hoskinson. And I think for a lot of people that are in the crypto space, they get really excited about these elements and these developments. Can you talk us through what we've seen so far? I know in summer it was a really active time for you both. Where are we currently?
It's evolving every day, the relationship. So we're building on Cardano. We're actually building multi-chain, but our relationship is with Input-Output. Input-Output are determined to support banking the unbanked and build a financial ecosystem for the underconnected, for the emerging markets. We first met because James Bowater, actually a mutual friend, said to me, "You're interested in Africa?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I've got a friend. His name's Charles Hoskinson, co-founder of Ethereum, and now he's building out Cardano." Charles had just finished with his raise for Cardano, the private sale, and he was speaking. He was saying the right things, and I approached him and I said to him, "Charles, nice to meet you. I'm Micky." I was shocked that he was only 31 at the time. I was obviously a little bit older than him. And said to him, "Look, you want to bank the unbanked, you need to connect the unconnected." He looked at me and said, "You may be crazy, you may be right. Let me send a guy called John O'Connor over to you. He's based in Ethiopia." He came to Tanzania, he met with Andy and RJ, showed the university that we're set up, he made a telephone call over our beta application, over the blockchain, and 2 weeks later, I got an invite to go and see Charles.
Wow.
Took some time courting and dating and building up the trust to work with each other. And it's evolved every single day since then. We work very closely with IO. They're supporting us to do what we need to do. We're supporting them to do what they need to do. And now it's growing beyond Africa. It's growing into Wyoming, into his branch. And we're looking at South America, and we're looking at Northern Europe, and we're looking at other places that really need this. And yeah, it's a very symbiotic synergy that we have.
Amazing. Now, to play devil's advocate a little bit, is there any competition right now that you would view in this market? You've mentioned there is a huge untapped potential for people to kind of dive in and get involved. Is there anything right now that could be of interest to kind of the competitors?
They're not competitors. Mm-hmm. They should be collaborators, because alone nobody can fix this problem. We are far more advanced than anybody else right now. That doesn't mean that we'll always be far more advanced, but I welcome that, because there's 3.5 billion people to connect. My philosophy as a human is that everybody has the right to connect to the internet, and it's wrong that every other person on the planet can't speak to the other, can't share their arts, their culture, their information, can't educate themselves. Educate themselves online, I should say, because people can educate themselves. It's just much easier to take opportunities into your hands when you've got the internet.
Yeah.
So competition, I don't think really exists right now for World Mobile, and we're running at a pace faster than any other mobile network operator in history. So I will keep up that pace, and if we inspire other people to do similar things that we're doing, we invite them to collaborate with us and to work with us and to fix this problem together. It's such a big, big problem that it needs the support of everybody. So Helium showed there was an appetite for a sharing economy. You've had other companies come out, like Pollen in the United States, have showed there's an appetite for the sharing economy. But what we've done is come with a full solution rather than a bit part solution to this problem. And a solution that works not just in America or not just in the UK, but also works in the wilderness in Africa.
And you said the word inspire there. Before these conversations, I always like to go in on kind of YouTube, Twitter, and see if there's any questions from people that genuinely have been looking into the project, that use the project, or that have been following you for some time, because I think it's amazing for them to get to ask these questions as well. And a lot of people were more thanking you really from the bottom of their heart for what you've been building. People finally feel like they've been heard. That's the kind of consensus that I always get from reading some of the comments on recent AMAs that you've done on YouTube. When it comes to you yourself and what you've built, for other founders that are out there, there must have been challenges along the way. There must have been times where there is resilience that's needed more than anything. What would you say to people that are starting out in something else that hasn't been done before in the way that they're looking to disrupt an industry, and how to push past that?
Think about it properly. That's the most important part. Think of the logic behind it. Find good people. I have a very good brother, Josh, that I can bounce back and forth ideas. I have Alan Omnet, he's an amazing guy. Surround yourself with people that want to make a change, that want to support what you do, that want to be involved in what you do. Think about these things properly and just go for it. Because if you don't go for it, you won't do it. If you don't have a foot in the race, you have no chance of winning the race, or coming second, or coming third. And if you come last, okay, you tried, and then you'll pick yourself up and you'll go again. And eventually, if you believe in what you actually are doing, I believe many things can come from that. And I've seen that. I've seen that most of my life. Again, this 5 years ago, 6 years ago, mobile network operators were telling me, you're crazy. We don't want anything to do with you. 2 years ago, started knocking on my door saying, we've got unused spectrum. How do we utilize that spectrum? Now they're saying, oh, when do we get to connect to your aerostat? This could be something that works for our company or our country. And I'm sure in the next 1 or 2 years, all of a sudden, people will start to look at World Mobile as a wholesale model that they can utilize their existing assets in order to be able to run. So I had many, many non-believers in the beginning, and I couldn't answer every single question. Yeah. But I did think about what I was doing properly, and I got that research, and I started to understand exactly what I was doing. And over these last 5-6 years, I've really cemented us as a company and allowed us to move forward in a way that's logical, feasible, but fast.
And something else that I think you've done extremely well is you've managed to convert customers into community, and community have really helped then expand through their own network in a way that is completely unpredictable and also positive as well. So what would you say to other crypto or blockchain projects that are potentially watching when it comes to the power of harnessing an honest and good community?
Transparency from the leaders. That's really what it comes down to. You need to be transparent. You need to work with your community. I mean, I'm shocked every day. I see on Twitter, I see our community growing, the community even bigger, and it's starting to spiral. And right now we're in a bear market, and we're only in the crypto markets. But the second stage of World Mobile, which is moving forward now, Operation AirNode, is going to be working with non-crypto people. But those non-crypto people and the crypto people will combine, and then it will become a bigger mass and a bigger mass and a bigger mass. And all of a sudden, in the next months or so, the network will go live for actually paying users. Network revenue will start driving into the nodes, and this will create an effect. So you need to support the community. You need to be there for the community. And in return, what I've seen is the community are your business. They are your company. They are part of it. It's like having lots and lots of people working with you to fix this mission.
So final takeaway point for people that are listening that go, okay, I need to hear more. I need to get involved. How can they navigate? How can they get in touch with you guys? And how can they move forward?
All of our social media sites are open. We have worldmobile.com, worldmobile.io, the website. Any way they wish, contact me on Twitter, contact any one of the co-founders on Telegram, get involved, be part of this. And soon enough, we'll also have a sales website where people are actually able to understand what the node can do, the areas they can launch in, and where they can buy it.
Micky, thank you so much. Amazing to catch up as always. I'm so glad we've managed to dive into what World Mobile have been up to. Wish you all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you guys so much for watching. Now, as we do wrap up, I would like to thank the sponsors of today's video, Fluid Finance, the bank alternative allowing easy access in and out of crypto and blockchain using your Web3 wallet. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss any more content like this, and see you all again really soon.
Sending money internationally? We have the newest solution. Stop paying for SWIFT transfers. It's expensive, and you'll wait days before you see a result. At Fluid, our international transfers are instant, free, and safe. Sign up and download the app today.